It is almost 10 p.m. where I'm at. I know I'm late tonight. It is Friday the 13th, and it would be wrong for me not to do an episode tonight. And I was just really kind of sitting back. I'm not going to lie, this week was insane. Holy smokes. But there's something very specific rolling around in my heart, and I want to dig into it. And so we're going to talk a lot about depression and planning around your purpose tonight. Because when it comes down to, last week we were talking about how to forgive yourself. Well, first, how to forgive others, but how does it start with yourself? And so part of that is where we have to make sure we take responsibility. And part of that was mechanics. If you missed out on last week's show, go check it out. But also to go check out and subscribe to the newsletter as well. It's we're on edition 7 right now. Edition 8 is going to come out this Sunday. But I remember one of the biggest things after I contemplated suicide, there was a lot going on that when it comes to shame, I was dealing with a lot of stuff, a lot of mistakes that people did not let me forget as I was trying to do better. And I had to make sure that I didn't let what people, um, well, I'll say this, what people believed about me at that point to affect me. And it got to a point where it got discouraging. Like it was like an echo chamber at one point. And I remember, it's funny because when you do things for other people, it gets interesting after a while because then those who are meant to pour into you will actually tell you or remind you of what you sort of told other people. And those are the moments where you have to like swallow your pride because it's really good to hear refreshers, right? And it's interesting. So, anyways, there's a lot I remember, and anyone who's watching, drop a comment down below. And let me know if you ever battled depression and you've struggled with that, because I want to really dig into this. I don't want to. I don't really want to leave this untapped. Tonight is raw, and I contemplated again. I contemplated suicide when I was 16, and I remember when what led me up to that, and when I turned my life around. It was May 6th, 2008, and there was a lot of residue left over from that. And it was not something where okay, great, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just try and do what I used to do. And what happened was is that I really started to to get in a funk. And what happened after a while is that I just needed to change my company. I needed to change those who were around me. And what began to happen was the moment I changed my friends, my environment, right, and also too my self talk, I had to. Whew, that was tough, and I remember catching myself a lot too. I still do. I still have to work on that. And still like taking a shower. I got to do it daily. But it's interesting because I remember when I started to make these implementations. I started to like actually execute on these things that would change my life around and really maintain it. Yeah, it's cool to have the epiphany that you need to do better, but also too, it's something else as well that when you can. And y'all drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from as you're tuning in. But and I remember when people, those who were mad at me, I mean, those who I hurt. There were times where I had to go make amends, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, my dad was just for like first of many. I had to go back and apologize to people who are now friends, and I remember, I remember it was tough, and it wasn't an overnight thing either. And that's where I really had to remind myself of who I am. And that's something that is very difficult if we are so used to people talking down to us. I know that for me personally, I'm not speaking for you who's watching, but depression was real. And one of the biggest things I want to bust right now, and I mean, believe it or not, it's totally up to you. But I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to give you an exercise to try out. But depression is, in a simplistic way, is a bad allocation of energy and focus. And what I mean by that is that depression, a lot of times you'll notice someone's a pessimistic, or a pessimist, right? Someone's going to be always focused on the problem, not the solution. That's what depression is. It's always focusing on the negative instead of the positive. And it's interesting because when I started, like, it was like the law of displacement. I started to realize that if I put my hand in a bucket of water, the water would go out, right? And same thing with our mind. It's like our thoughts are our thoughts are rushing through our head like rush hour traffic all the time. And I remember dealing with that because I was diagnosed ADHD growing up. And an interesting part was there was so much that I would observe, try to analyze, try to educate, or try to educate myself, try to break down, pick apart. I mean, I had so many questions, and I didn't have an outlet mentally to be able to maintain my thought life. We always have these, our business life, our personal life, but what about your thought life, right? And like, how is your thought life currently? If you could rate it from a 1 to 10, and jungle is not an answer. Okay, I know that some people are like, you don't want to know. That was me, like, less, not as much right now, but man, I tell you, when I first started to learn about like how to maintain my thought life in my mind, like really to be disciplined mentally, it was not easy at all. And I mean, it was so interesting. Like, I don't mean to say funny, but I remember I remember beating myself up for something I didn't know when I learned it later. And you're like, huh? And there was just a lot of trauma that I had dealt with, and there's a lot of underlying things that were really causing this, like the not just the thoughts, but the mindsets. Because the thoughts are like cars going down the road. The mindsets are actually the roads. See, there are things that are happening over a period of time that actually cause grooves and trenches that water, the being of thoughts, run down. And so it's not just the thoughts themselves. It's a matter of thinking about what you're thinking about, right? Think about exactly what's going through your mind, why it's going through your mind, and what triggered it, what may have sparked it, right? Think like make note of your thought life and everything that's going through your I mean daily routine and all the stuff that's going on. There's lot of variables, and I kid you not, when it comes down to when it comes down to trying to get out of that funk, and really not trying to just stay there and get stuck. A lot of times it's hard. It really is difficult and it's not easy. And it takes practice. Whoa, that's really cool. I just realized over on LinkedIn that my live is at the top of the profile. Hey, everybody, this is really neat. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm such a nerd, so forgive me. I am a big old nerd. Yeah. Anyways, I love tech, but that's just really really cool.
And it takes practice.
Wow, and that's really loud. Sorry. So those of you who are going to catch that here in a second, I apologize for the echo. My bad. But it's really cool because, well, I say this, it's not it's very interesting when it comes down to it's not just about the thoughts themselves. It's about what are you thinking about? Why are you thinking about it? Like what caused that and what sparked it, and walk through those different steps and reverse engineer it. Because what happens is that didn't just pop out of nowhere. That was sparked by something. And if you can go through those steps of saying, okay, what was the thought? What was going on at that time? Was it personal or whatever the case may have been? Was it a business thing? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, just make a note of that. And so make a note of those different things. And then after a while, go back and look at patterns. Because what happens is over a period of time, we don't just have a thought and just go, how, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of brain farts. That's just me. But when it comes down to just really, like really dismantling all of that, it was tough because at the end of the day, I really had a hard time I had a really hard time keeping up with my thoughts, and it was very hard because then it became very discouraging. I didn't understand things. I was reacting out of certain emotions that I hadn't really digested yet. The thoughts, the emotions, the feelings, all these different things going on, and it was tough because during the time of contemplating suicide to repairing the relationship with my dad before he was murdered, it was interesting to see the development. But I mean, I swear, I would crack the joke all the time that my lips have calluses because I felt like I was drinking through a fire hose. And it was interesting because when it came down to identifying each one of those thoughts, the reason why I didn't give it much effort or energy in the beginning is because I didn't think it was worth it, or I didn't think I was worth it. And that was what was wild. Because when it came down to really, um, when it came down to really understanding it and actually really wrapping my head around it, no pun intended, right? Got big ears, got to be able to wrap it around something. But I remember being able to journal stuff out and write it out and be able to look at it at a whole different angle, and I mean just be able to see it. And what happened was I was able to see it through a new lens and really dig into, okay, that thought was sparked by this happening, and wait, so why did that happen? What caused that? And what happened was I began to reverse engineer back to my responsibility of what caused that to happen. It was interesting because I mean that definitely didn't happen overnight, because first things first, I had to swallow my pride. I had to be able to say, okay, I need to put the effort, I need to put the work into this and be able to really dissect my thoughts. And it got to a point where I was able to catch things sooner. That's when you know you're making progress. You know, same things happen over and over again after you map out patterns and you see what caused it, what may have triggered it. What happens is you're able to catch it sooner, and then go, just really catch it and be able to, that was an internal, that was an outward expression of an internal happening. But what happened was I would be able to respond more elegantly, more, the proper way that I needed to at that time. If it was frustration or aggression or being assertive, I mean, that's definitely what I did. And it came down to a point where, man, like I remember my dad it got to a point where I had to want something better for myself. I got so sick and tired of where depression led me down. Self sabotage, so many different, just coming up with problems and never, always complaining about the end result, but not really putting in the effort to actually to facilitate a solution. Yeah, it's interesting. You're suffering from depression if all you're doing is seeing the problem and never ever seeing a way out. And if it feels illegal to actually take action towards something that's going to be healthy, what you notice, honestly, it's like walking through quicksand. And those are just some symptoms to notice that, and to just kind of take personal note. Because at the end of the day, in all honesty, when it comes down to it, there are people that you are meant to reach that if you don't get past your own funk, you're not going to be able to reach them, and they're going to suffer in silence. The thing is, you have to understand that you were made on purpose with a purpose to fulfill a purpose. And so I know I was kind of saying the same thing on the first and the end of it, but still, like you really have to remember that. Yeah, and that's something that I always remind myself of. These the thoughts after, if I feel like there's a machine gun of thoughts like just being bah, just fired at me, what happens is I have to go. I do it as a pattern disrupt, a pattern interrupt, and I just go do something different. I go take my mind off of what's going on, whatever's stressing me out, what's freaking me out, whatever's going, like really truly what's going on. I try to break that mentally or emotionally. I go do something I enjoy. Yeah, really truly take a break, because that's where you have to know your limits and what's going to push you over the edge and make you snap. You got to be able to identify those areas. And that's where a lot of times depression comes from, is because we haven't been able to identify those areas. And that's really truly what happens, is that if we allow ourselves to be stretched so much, what happens, honestly, it's like, I mean, it's like, that bubble gum that you just say, you just want to keep stretching, or the Play-Doh, you want to keep stretching. What happens after a while, it just breaks. And that's the thing with us. We have our limitations. We're human beings. We ain't God. Like, what you talking about, Willis? Like, come on now. Like, at the end of the day, we have our limits, and we have to be humble about that and be okay with it. Like, no joke. Stop. Like, stop trying to be everything to everyone. Like, that it doesn't work. It never will. It never has. And it's never going to be effective. And that's what's so crazy about it. But when it comes down to everything, it was wild to see like that inception principle working. That if I'm struggling with, because I was so depressed before I turned my life around. I mean, oh, there were days I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to move. I felt so either sad, filled with rage. Really, a lot of it was filled with a lot of regret because I didn't do what I instinctively knew what I could have and should have done. And so what took place was stagnation. I was at a pity party. I was the only one attending my pity party too, by the way. It's weird. Don't you hate it whenever someone else tries to get you to join their pity party? Like it's just pitiful. Anyways, dark humor. But but when it comes down to really really digging into it for yourself, just be patient with yourself. Like that's the biggest thing. Like just be patient with yourself. I used to get so mad that I was like, man, I'm not gonna do that again. Who has ever made that? Drop a comment. If you catch this on the replay, drop a comment and let me know if you've ever made that perfectionist promise to yourself. Like, yeah, oh Lord, I'm never gonna do this again. I promise you. Just and we just plead and we beg until we feel better. At the end of the day, Jesus' blood already paid the price for you. Like it or lump it, no matter how you feel. But also at the same time, there's conviction to make sure that you also too implement discipline and notice those different things at the same time. Period. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you can be obnoxious, and still making it out of ridiculous in a ridiculous fashion. Like my dad was a primary example of that. Boy, oh boy, yeah, he made it up by the skin of his teeth. Bless him. But like, but no joke though. Like there was a lot that when it comes down to you making the decision not based on feelings, because emotions come and go and feelings go up and down. And here's the thing: just because you feel like crap doesn't mean you're a piece of crap. Okay? No. No, 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 no. You may have done a crappy thing, but it doesn't mean you're a piece of crap. Okay? Like, oh golly, I swear. Like it gets to a point where we have to be okay with our humanity and be okay with ignorance. Okay, I ain't calling you ignorant. I'm not calling nobody ignorant, right? I'm saying we are ignorant until we know better. Period. Because at the end of the day, until you know better, and you'll hit the share button on this too, wherever you're watching it, where I'm streaming on Facebook. One, two, three, four, five places on Facebook, one on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So, but yeah, drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. But one of the biggest things though is that we're in a time right now where a lot of people want to avoid responsibility and want to avoid taking or being accountable for their actions, because at the end of the day, it's the only time you're going to grow. Proverbs has a very funny saying. It says, "He who hates correction is stupid." Like stupid, like with the long "oo" on it, like stupid. And at the end of the day, like iron sharpens iron, right? And so if you're going to, if you don't want to admit that you don't know what you're talking about on certain things, it's totally fine. But just know that you are not the only one you're not the only one in the room, and until you find out differently, you're going to behave differently. And it's interesting because throughout this week I've been talking with investors, I've been talking with so many different people about tiny home development and so many other things, and just all the different facets of where people are at in business. I mean, people who are single mom, or a work at home mom too, just for different reasons. I mean, like for landscaping and all this other stuff. Like everyone's at such a different phase in life, and everyone's story is different. So be okay with where you're at. Don't beat yourself up for, oh, I should have been this far ahead. Backhand you like Medea does, like with the ugly face. Like really, truly, stop. Like really, at the end of the day, it's okay to be humble, because at the end of the day, either be humble or get humbled. It's your choice, really, truly. Because, and I'm not saying to be like, oh, you better. No, I'm just saying like it's okay to be patient with yourself. Like you don't need to be 5 miles ahead of where you're at right it's like tomorrow. Fantastic if things click and you get those aha moments, and to where you can connect the dots on certain things. Those are those miracle revelation moments. Run with those. Don't second guess them or think that just because it's so simple, it's like, oh, I saw a billboard of Godzilla and now it makes sense in my business. Like, Who cares if it makes sense to anybody else? As long as you're able to arrive at that, honestly, at the end of the day, it's not going to make sense to anybody else. But at the end of the day, the solution, like what it produces, it's all that matters. And at the end of the day, like if whatever problem or crisis that you're facing, whatever the pressure is, whatever is going on, like it doesn't matter because you are designed for a specific purpose. You truly are. You have desires, you have the things that you enjoy, you have the things that piss you off, the things that you want to make right, you have the things that you like, the resources and the connections and the abilities and the talents you have. All of it matters. So don't discount it, especially your feelings. This is all a part of you. You're a masterpiece. Like, you were not made in a fly-by-night factory. So I mean, hello, but I remember a lot when I was repairing the relationship with my dad. That I struggled so hard. Like I was struggling understanding my purpose. I was also struggling with trying to wrap my head around being okay with not being perfect or not having it all together or trying to appear strong. Man, you know what I'm talking about. Like it was to the point where I mean it probably took me 8 years to really unwind a lot of the stuff that I was struggling with. And there are things that I still unpack to this day. My wife and we've been married for 2 years. Like, hello, we're in kindergarten in our marriage. Like, come on now. Like, I ain't got. Trust me, I ain't got that many chest hairs or facial hair to try and like put up a front. Yeah, really, at the end of the day, it truly matters when what it truly matters is you just being raw and transparent with yourself. Forget about what other people perceive. Yeah, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because when you're able to walk through those steps and actually identify those like the thoughts, why you're thinking of them. It's not just about what your thoughts are. It's about why are you thinking about them, what caused them the spark, and really identifying those patterns. When you're able to work through it that way, what happens is you're able to see it like on a chart. I don't know if any of you use a project management tool. I mean, I know I do. Ugh. Don't get me started on that. But all of you business folks, you know exactly what that pain was about. Well, but when it comes down to identifying the patterns of our thoughts on like a dashboard, that's what journaling can do. You start to identify and say, that makes sense. And your business will grow. Because then you're not going to live in fear. You're not going to live in the shame. You're not going to live in the guilt. It may just be rage. It may be something that is holding you back. But depression, it is the nonstop focus on the bad, period. Like anyone can come up with chemical technical terms and all of that. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. When I began to find reasons to focus on my purpose and be okay with it, to pursue it, undeniable. But I had to identify why in the world was I thinking that way. And for next week, what we're going to do is we're going to dig into that. Yeah, we're not having any comments tonight, but we're going to dig. I want to dig into that. I want to dig into exactly why those things happen. But what I do want to do right now is I want to go to the sponsor of today's show. And so this is in association with the Tiny Home Plug, your boy truly. And that's a whole other business, but I'm going to show you guys the sponsor in collaboration, the Tiny Home Plug in collaboration with Galvan Allen Homes. I kid you not, you talk about somebody who is filling the need for affordable housing when it comes to tiny home development, design, and delivery. I'm not kidding you. When it comes down to really helping this on a whole entire nationwide and continental need here in North America, we're the resource for you. Here we go.
Here we build out and design custom shipping container homes, as well as tiny homes on wheels specifically designed exactly the way you imagine.
Not only are our homes self-sustainable,
but we also have the ability to build tiny homes on flatbeds, making your home transportable so you can pick up and go whenever you want. Need financial assistance? We have financing available to you, only taking 15 minutes for approvals. At Galvan Allen Homes, we have a goal to bring a cost-effective, timeless, and efficient experience to you here in Texas. Whether you're looking for a vacation home, Airbnb investment, or simply a retirement home for you and your family, we are here to help. Galvan Allen Homes, the way you want it.
Like, how cool is that? Like, what? I mean, come on. And so I am so happy to have partnered up with Galvan Allen Homes, and I'm excited to officially announce the Tiny Home Plug. Ooh, coming up, wait, darn, I can't even point. But the tinyhomeplug.com, go there and check it out. I'm not kidding when it comes to affordable housing and that the affordable housing crisis and really providing inventory. You definitely want to go check it out. But oh, excuse me, I drank a whole bottle of water while that was playing. Apologies. But I really want to hit on that because when it comes to depression, when it comes to all the outside pressures that are happening right now, when it comes down to everything that is going on in our nation, there's a lot of reasons as to why things happen, and everyone's got their own story. There's no shame ever at all. And someone just messaged saying, "Can you put it back up?" Yep. But don't be ashamed. It's okay. Oh, I just realized my notebook's in there. But it's okay. My desk is a mess. But be patient with yourself. Because here's the thing, on the other side of you reverse engineering and taking note of this, what's going to happen is the negative of all the stuff that's happening. Remember, the devil doesn't attack anything God didn't design. So the other side of it is your purpose. When you reverse engineer the attacks over to that, what happens is it becomes to work as a buoy, like submarines and their sonar. You're able to reverse engineer your purpose back into reverse engineer the depression back into your purpose. Massive. Massive, massive, massive. And just know you're not alone. Like, you're not. You're not the only one that has struggled through this. I have gone through my own fair share of battles and days that feel like a month at a time because it was so emotionally and mentally exhausting. Like, I totally get it. Like, being so tired that your mind is racing so fast that you can't even keep up with the thoughts and you can't even remember what they were because all you are is exhausted. Been there. And it's not easy. Okay. But when I tell you it's worth it, I promise you it's worth it. Man, I'm telling you, it is I'm telling you all this from a place of victory because the freedom on the other side. The peace of mind is way too expensive to give up. Way too expensive to go back. Like it when you get a taste of what you truly want, what happens is you're able to hold on to that instead of being miserable for a change or just feeling weighed down and just feeling just whatever guilt, oppression, whatever you're feeling ashamed. It doesn't matter at the time, like because it can flip up like sherbet ice cream all the time. But seriously, doing the work is worth it. 100% worth it. Because what happens is when you begin to understand more about your talents, your gifts, your abilities, what you enjoy, who you like to be around, more about yourself, as you take action, you become more confident because you get to see the proof right in front of your eyes. It is wild. Absolutely wild. So I encourage you, just give it a shot. I want you to take your journal and really dig into that. take inventory of your thought life. First things first. What was the thought? What in the world made that thought come to mind? Because sometimes it may be random. You're like, no, whatever. Block out. Or just like throw it off the shelf. But then you look at, just keep making notes of that. And then looking around, like what was going on, what happened, what could have sparked it, surrounding areas, etc., like environment, like whatever situation was going on, just it doesn't matter. Make notes of that. Because over a period of time, it's going to create a pattern in which you're going to notice on one side all these different thoughts, all the different things that were going on that could have caused it. You're going to identify patterns. And then on the other side of that, you're going to realize, okay, I'm not going to do that again. No, thank you. And then I'm going to make sure that, that's because I didn't have a lot of me time. That's why. Dang. That's why I did that. Okay, whatever. Or that's why I allowed it. Because here's the thing, it's not just about what you do, it's about what you allow. A lot of times that depression comes from because we let people run over us, or we take advantage, or we don't stick our chest out. I see you watching. But seriously, like we don't stick our chest out. We don't stand our ground. We're not assertive. A lot of times it's because of lack of backbone. Now, what's amazing is that when you actually have backbone, you enforce it. And boy, oh boy, that them back may. I don't know about you, but man, some folks got a strong back. I don't know what it is. I feel like I got a turtle shell for a back, but a lot of times when you stick your chest out, you got to use the back muscle to get in there and actually just talk about what you're talking about. That was not impressive. Don't comment about it. I wasn't trying to flex or impress. I'm not The Rock, okay? But oh, great moment. Hashtag pound sign. But no, yeah, like really, really, truly, it's when you're able to take inventory, what happens is you have that mental freedom and you're able to really identify those different areas and then actually slow down enough to identify it. And so I hope this helped. Again, thank you again to Galvin Allen Homes. You guys are going to see more of the tinyhomeplug.com all around social. That is something that is happening right now. I am the tiny home plug. And so I promise you when it comes down to working with Galvin Allen Homes, man, it has been incredible. And I mean, it has just been nothing short of a miracle, a godsend and something that has been long time coming. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off for tonight. I wish you have an amazing Friday the 13th, even though Death is better and bigger. Yeah. Anywho, but like enjoy your night and enjoy the weekend. But give it a shot. I just encourage you to give it a shot when it comes to journaling, taking an inventory of your thought life, because what happens is depression really truly is a poor allocation of our focus on the things that sometimes don't matter. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And remember, the dog you feed the most in the fight is the one that wins the battle. So which one are you feeding? All right. See you guys.